Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over LTCN, BCHG, and HZEN, and the other grayscale trusts, and how this could be the moment. This could literally be the week that these grayscale trusts start the beginning of their move to all-time highs. So, with that being said, let's get it. So before we get into LTCN or any of these other grayscale trusts, I just want you guys to look at the glorious pumps that we've seen this morning. Just look at some of these moves. Plus 35%, plus 27, plus 15, plus 19, 21, 23, 13, 25, 17s, some pretty large moves. And there's actually some tokens that we own that we took some profit on this morning, which is, we only took profit on one. We were thinking about taking profit on Render too, but just goes to show the AI narrative is in full swing and in play. Before we get into the grayscale trust, we want to show you guys these real quick. So these are some AI plays we're in. As you guys can see, they're moving up massively. They are pushing into price discovery before the halving. That's generally a good sign. We're expecting fetch.ai render, which we also have a position in. And the other one that we have a position in is AIOZ, which is a much smaller market cap one. This one could potentially 10 to at least 20x, I would say, in my opinion, based on the AI narrative. But this one's also moving up. So these are all AI plays in the native crypto space. As you can see, the AI narrative is playing out. The meme coin narrative that we talked about also playing out. So you got Shiba Inu, and you also have Dogecoin. We don't have Pepe or any of those other meme coins on here, just those two. So anyways, before we get into grayscale, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin one more time. So we'll reiterate this one more time, okay? So before Bitcoin broke to its new all-time highs in the previous cycle, so if we go way back here, you can see the peak was in 2017, right? $20,000. And then we got back to that level. We retested it. It took a little while. We got kind of a rejection here, which we did see recently. And then we got rejected, and then we pushed back up, and then bang, the bull run took off. And it lasted for roughly about, well, the first half of it anyways, for roughly about 4 months, as you guys can see, very, very short time frame. So the point I'm making here is we're currently retesting highs just like we did in 2017. And then at that point, potentially, if in the bullish case scenario we have liftoff, we'll be going up massively. In the bearish case scenario, just to be realistic about things here, there is a potential for a massive 40% drop. But it does not appear that Bitcoin wants to do that. So as you guys can see here, Bitcoin is moving up pretty strongly. But again, I'll reiterate, it looks very similar to the risk of the last time that we pushed past all-time highs. There was a risk of a 40% drop. So I want you guys to understand that is realistic. But it does appear that Bitcoin wants to move up. And if we go over to the daily time frame, the bull flag, as you guys can see here, the target still remains the same. This is the immediate short-term target. So 77,000. We basically just took the flag from the breakout point or the bottom of this descending triangle to the top is what the flagpole looks like. And then the flagpole is from the breakout point to where basically the price target is, which gives you a $77,000 price target. Now, if we, one more quick thing, if we look at the Fibonacci's, so we're going to look at the Fibonacci's here. We're going to go down from the start of the flagpole here. So as you guys can see, usually when the Fibonacci's when price retraces to the Fibonacci's, it goes somewhere between the 0.618 and the 0.5. As you guys can see, we bounced almost perfectly off the 0.5 and moved back up. So that's very bullish from the Fib perspective. You guys can see that the 1.618 lines up almost perfectly with the bull flag profit targets. So in terms of Fib levels on Bitcoin, we could be looking at 80,500, 99,200, 100 and roughly about 118,000, and then at the top, as of currently, again, this is in real time. This is not looking out 6 or 12 months. Would be 130,000. Do I think it's going to go to 130,000 today? No, I do not. So anyways, That's kind of like a recap of everything that we've looked at that could potentially move the price of these grayscale trusts. So now getting to LTCN, we'll take a look at LTCN here. It does appear that LTCN wants to break out of this both triangle pattern and also ascending triangle. As you guys can see here, we posted on X what happened with the ascending triangle pattern when NVIDIA broke out of it, when SoundHound broke out of it. And I believe we posted like one or two other examples of what ascending triangles do when they break out. If you guys have not seen that, follow us on X and go back and look. You'll be able to see what we're talking about. Some pretty powerful moves here. But the price target for that is roughly about the top of this resistance, so $27. But again, I would say at this point, there is a real possibility that over the next few months, we could see LTCN go up to these highs and even beyond this point, depending on how much money flows into the Bitcoin ETFs. Do understand that market dumps are risks, so the more that these things move in one direction, the greater the moves are going to be up or down. Okay, it gets increasingly volatile as we get more bullish. So you might see like a 30%, 40, 50% move in a day, and then a massive, like a 15, 20, 30% drop on the following day. Okay, I do understand that that is realistic. So LTCN looking very bullish, immediate short term, looking to get up to 27. This level, I would say, is probably likely going to be support now, unless we get a pullback, but we only got 2 days left. So immediate support is 1325 to about 1520. We go over here to HZEN. You can see that this thing has just absolutely blasted off. It's not even messing around at this point. It's kind of crazy just how big the move is. If we actually measure this move, and we told you guys about this before, but so 70% move in just 1 week, that's pretty huge. There's a possibility it could have pulled back, and it can still pull back, but this clearly was the support zone. So I'm not really sure what to say about that. We'll just go ahead and change this to support. Again, this is all based on probabilities. Nothing's a guarantee. So we could have put some money in here and said, okay, we'll put half in here. If it comes back down here, we'll do half. That's actually kind of how we're playing SoundHound, because we're not sure what direction it's going to go yet. So anyways, I would say this is now your new support. So 378 to 422, and resistance is where it currently is, 690 to about $8 a share. And the all-time high target here is $30. Keep in mind the Horizon token has, it did create a higher peak in the second bull run that we had. So HZEN could actually go higher than this. It could hit like 40, 50, 60 bucks. That is absolutely possible, especially if the underlying hits a new all-time high. So BCHG here, massive gap plus a massive move up. I would say at this point that this resistance is now turned into support. It is no longer resistance very clearly, as you guys can see here. Even if it came back down and closed the gap is still above that support level. So this is obviously an extended move off of Bitcoin Cash. You guys know Bitcoin Cash has had a monster move lately. I think it was like 100% or something. So new resistance here. Let's go ahead and draw this out real quick. So the new resistance level is going to be pretty much right about where this thing is at currently. You can barely see it. We'll again reiterate the all-time highs here are $60 or so about a 10x even from current prices. But do keep in mind, if Bitcoin Cash goes to new all-time highs, I think the peak, so the first peak in the first cycle was like $4,000 some dollars. I'd have to go back and look, but it was like around $4,000. And then the second peak was much smaller last cycle. I think the last peak we had was like 12 or 1,300 bucks. So if this thing goes to, if Bitcoin Cash goes to 2 or 3,000 or 4,000 on this cycle, assuming that Bitcoin just goes absolutely nuts and goes to like 500,000 or something crazy like that, which is a possibility now that BlackRock and Fidelity and all those guys are in the space. BCHG could go much higher than 60. I would say it would not be out of the realm of possibility to see BCHG go up to $100 at least. So we had this breakout, and if we go ahead and do the measured move here from the gap opening to where we currently are, basically you're looking at roughly about a 53% move. So I can't yet say that this is not support because the candle on the weekly has not closed yet. But if you wanted to treat this as support, you could. So your first support would be 380 to 420, second support 530 to about 590 a share, and current resistance roughly about 7 to 750 a share. GXLM, this thing has had an absolutely monster move. Again, it did not dip as far as we thought it to, but when we look at these moves, we're looking at them based on how we view swing trades, not necessarily investments or day trades. So the way that we measure these moves are a little bit different, but it's had a massive move up. GXLM has moved a lot. I want to reiterate, actually, let's actually take a look at the Stellar Lumens charts. So we'll go Stellar Lumens USD. I would argue that Stellar Lumens is much cheaper than GXLM. So if I was going to buy something, I would buy Stellar instead of GXLM because you're looking at a massive move here of roughly about a 6x. That's something that can actually be measured. When price moves into price discovery, it's very, very hard to predict where these things are going to go. So your all-time high is $95. Again, this thing could, if XLM does a 6x, this thing could probably do something similar. So I think maybe $250 would not be out of the question for this thing. Again, EMAs sit between 24 to roughly about $30, and resistance is between 52 to about $59. ETH is blasting off. I would say that the cup and handle on this one has been canceled. It did not play out, at least not yet anyways. So we'll change this to support because you can see this little body poke its head out above the resistance level. That's pretty bullish confirmation. And we have had some follow through, at least as of right now. So support is 25.50 to about 29, and 40 to 46 is roughly going to be your current resistance. So the all-time high is $67, so roughly about a 2x. The current price, I would say that ETH is actually cheap in comparison to Ethereum. Ethereum is not far from all-time highs. So if we zoom up here, you guys can see Ethereum is only about $700 away from all-time highs. So that's roughly about a 20% move. Wait, is that a 20% move? No, I think it's closer to like maybe 12 to 15%. My bad. ETH, I would say it has a lot more potential to go up. If Ethereum goes to like $15,000, which is a possibility, I'm willing to accept that at this point with the possibility of an Ether spot ETF being approved. I would say 10, 12, 15K is possible. You could see ETH do something very similar. So at least going to probably somewhere between $100 to $120 a share. So ETH Classic here, again, ETH Classic, the underline is an oscillator to Ethereum. So when ETH blasts off, ETH Classic will do so too. So as of right now, I would say at this point is probably going to flip into support. So 1340 to about 1580 is going to be your support. And the peak up here is $95. So you're looking at roughly, I'd say about a 5x. But again, if Ethereum goes to new all-time highs, the Classic probably will too, and this will probably do more than a 5x, so maybe like a 6 to 8x at least. The current resistance is going to be somewhere around the target of this thing. As you guys can see, we have this target here, so target is all the way up at 22.35. Resistance will be somewhere between $19 to about $20. If we actually measure that from the current price, that's assuming you wanted to get in now, you get about a 15 to a roughly 30% gain, so not a bad move. Zcash, this thing has just absolutely destroyed all possible resistance levels. Again, this is crypto, anything's possible. Remember, these kinds of things are normal in crypto. They're not normal in stocks, okay? So I would say the next current resistance level that we got to get above is probably going to be right about there, so about $8 or so. The current support is going to be here between $4.40 to $5 at this point. I would say the probability of it coming back down to those support levels is becoming less and less. Again, we've been telling you guys that the Bitcoin miners are cheap in comparison to grayscale for a while now. If we actually scroll up here to look at the miners, you can see that they're already moving up. We actually took one of our options contracts off of Cypher because of how aggressive the move's been up. And part of that is because of earnings, but as you guys can see, they're already starting to recover. But whether you choose to buy these things or not, that's completely up to you. So measured move from about this support level, if it gets back down here, is 56 to about 72%. Measured move from the current price is not really that much. I mean, it's a decent trade, 15 to about 26%. So nothing extraordinary, but not bad either. GSOL just keeps on going. This thing is crazy. It wouldn't surprise me if it hit $1,000 at this point. It's just absolutely insane. I just want to show you guys just how gnarly the drop could be if it does happen. This is why we don't want to touch it right now. It could be as much as 76%. Even if this thing were to just pull back to the zone, it could be as much as 63%. Again, we would not buy this unless it got back to the zone at about 178 to 203. Even then, we would just slowly DCA. We're not going to put all our money in at those levels. So there's that. Mana, this thing has just, I don't know what the heck is going on here. So this thing is just absolutely destroyed previous all-time highs and resistance. It's just, wow, that's quite a move. Good God. Okay, so 109% or about 105% in a single week. I would say that if you wanted to get in on this, you're a little bit late to the boat, honestly. I think the ship's already sailed on this one. You could wait for a pullback between 1750 to 2050. That's entirely up to you. Do understand that if this thing does pull back, which with the moves we're seeing right now, I would say Grayscale is getting ready to push to all-time highs. All of these are. It would be a gnarly drop. It'd be about 53%. I think that there's cheaper opportunities somewhere else. That's just my opinion. So GBAT, kind of indecisive here. It doesn't know where it wants to go. That's why you got wicks on both sides. But it is pushing to all-time highs. Again, I would argue that the underlying is more cheap, if you ask me. So we'll take a look at basic attention token real quick. You can see this thing is barely moved. Hardly at all. So you get roughly about at least a 6x on your money on the underlying compared to the Grayscale Trust sitting at all-time highs, but it's entirely up to you what you want to do with this. So G-Link, this thing is, once again, I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole. It's already, I think the ship has already sailed on this. I mean, just from the current price to pull back, this thing would be about as much as 65%. And it's already overextended from just the first EMA by about 35%. So if I was going to get back in, I would get in somewhere probably somewhere right in there, I would say. So basically the top of these wicks and the bottom of this wick and this candle right here. So anywhere from $66 to $84. Do understand that these are risky. They could go up or down 50% in a day. But if you manage to get in on that zone, let's try this one more time. For some reason that didn't work. So you got in on the zone. If you got lucky enough to get in and then move back to the high, you'd be looking at as much as 107%. Phil G, this thing has done an impossible move. At this point, I would say it's likely that it is going to have a pullback because generally when you get a straight up move like that, that's indicative of a blow off top. As you guys can see, the drop would be just absolutely heinous. I would say it's risky to either short these or long these. At this point, I would not want to short it because of how aggressive it is going up. It's a good way to get wrecked, especially on leverage, and I would not long this either because of how overextended it is. If I was going to get in, I'd get in somewhere at the top of these candles, so 66 or 64, 68, and maybe 84, somewhere in there. If you manage to get it this low, if it comes down this low, potentially 205 to about 232%. GLIV, again, I don't know much about this one. If you guys want to clue me in, let me know down in the comments below, but it does appear that the cup and handle played out, and the target profit, or profit target, I should say, has actually been hit almost exactly, as you guys can see, based on that wick high there. So if I was going to get back in, I would get back in somewhere around the EMAs. So we'll say maybe at the blue EMA at $16. So you could be taking a look at as much as 109%. That's a pretty good move. This one's not nearly as overextended as Phil G and GSOL. And do understand we have some actual Filecoin. Filecoin is very cheap right now in comparison to Phil G. I would rather buy Filecoin than Phil G. That's just my opinion. I mean, it's just a different way to play the markets. I mean, these grayscale trusts, they own the underlying anyways. So really, if you bought the underlying, you'd still essentially be having exposure to the same exact asset that grayscale has. So from current prices on Filecoin, as much as potentially, and this is if it does not go to new all-time highs. If it goes to new all-time highs, it could be much more. But as of right now, potentially as much as a 23 or 24x on the underlines. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Do understand that anything that's in price discovery can go higher. Okay, sky's the limit, but there can also be some massive heinous drops. 20, 30, 40% would be normal for crypto. So do understand that. These are very risky, very volatile assets. Um, please do your own research when considering getting investing into these, and have some kind of game plan set in place. Because if the 50% drop does come, and it probably will at some point, you're going to want to have a plan in place for that. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.